Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth Connoisseurs. It's Rod with Pow Group, your home for MJ Stocks, crypto assets, news and interviews. Today is Saturday, August 16th. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. In this video, we're going to do another rapid fire news update, this time for the period August 9th to the 15th. And again, it's not a deep dive or anything like that. It's just a high level overview in case you missed it. Before we get to it, make sure to smash the like. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell. You'll be notified. I do these videos each and every week on Saturdays, or whenever I post new content. And as always, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Really appreciate all of the followers I've been getting over on X as well. Handle for that is @GroupPow. You can follow us over there. Well over 1,000 followers now, so I really appreciate all of the support that you've given me over the years here on YouTube and on X as well. So we'll jump right into the news. It was a busy week and an exciting week at that. U.S. Congress, the States 2.0 Act, gains the sixth bipartisan sponsor that would end federal MJ prohibition in legal states. And we also have other bills like the CAOA. But essentially, Chris Christie said that he believed that the new administration would attempt to deschedule. And that is ultimately where we're going to end up. I think it's going to be a matter of when, not if. But it's just, it's pretty insane, the U.S. government and system that we're 7 years in. And they still have a clear pathway. Like, we're in Canada, we're 7 years legal here at the federal level, and the U.S. still has no idea what's even going on. It's pretty ridiculous. Hopefully they can get their what together here over the course of starting with the next few months. We'll do that incremental approach. We got obviously some big news with regards to rescheduling, which we'll discuss in just a moment. But another clue and writing on the wall, if you will. Florida Senator Joe Gruters, and I mentioned this before, but it's going to be unopposed. So he supports MJ legalization and will be selected at August 22nd to lead the RNC, and again, running unopposed. So the writing's on the wall, folks. The times, they are a-changing, and I think we're on a great trajectory here, finally, after almost a decade of just flopping and false promises. Also, Village Farms, they delivered their international, Village Farms International delivers record profitability and performance from continuing operations in Q2 2025. So they absolutely crushed the report and estimates. So this is a company that I've been slowly building a position on. Full disclosure, like I said, I wasn't really the biggest bull before. I didn't really like their business model with the veggie aspect. But as they divested that with Vanguard Food, I became a mega bull. And it's almost as if they were listening to me. But super happy that they decided to do that and focus and hone in on the MJ operations part of their business. And like I said, very bullish on Village Farms, and I'm going to continue to add to my position. Also, Avicanna secures U.S. patent for topical cannabinoid gel targeting skin conditions. And they also reported their Q2 2025 results. So if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. They continue to lead with industry-leading margins. But you're starting to see some producers, like even Oxley reported, we'll discuss that in a moment, but they had very similar margins. And Avicanna is a medical biopharmaceutical company, and I've interviewed Aras Azadian, the CEO. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out. But check out the full report for more details. Again, it's not a deep dive, it's just a high-level overview in case you missed it. Also, President Trump, this was the news of the week, the year, the decade, whatever you want to call it. President Trump says decision on MJ reclassification will come in the next few weeks. So, we already had the first week, so we could see another week or two, and then we get the decision. I can't imagine them saying, why would we reclassify it? It's such a popular issue, right? 80 to 90% of American citizens want it legal in some form or another. If they don't do this, I question, I question a lot of things, but I question whether or not they like the American people, because I think a lot of these politicians forget that they work for the people. Sometimes they have to be reminded of that, which is pretty ridiculous in this day and age. But let's see. I do think that they will come back and say that they're going to move forward with it. There's a lot of contested opinions. There's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of just uncertainty still, like a cloud of worry. Is there going to be lawsuits? Is it going to get stalled? Political director Morgan Fox at Normal thinks that it could be a very long time. I'm kind of subscribing to the idea that I think they'll try and fast track it, but we'll see what happens with regards to lawsuits and whatnot. But again, sometimes I just want to close my eyes and bury my head in the sand anytime we talk about politics in the US with regards to this medicine. And I mean, come on, there's 38, close to 40? Last time I checked, there was 38, but we'll say round it up to 40. There's 40 states in the US that have it legalized for medical purposes. So you're telling me that it's on Schedule 1 with no medical value when almost over the majority, right? Well over the majority are legalized for medical. It just doesn't make any sense. It's bass backwards. It's probably the most painful thing I've ever had to endure is looking at this cluster, in the US. Like I said, I love the American people. I love every one of you tuning in, but I can't stand any of your politicians. I think they should all be fired with prejudice. They should never be allowed back in ever again, and any single dollar they ever earned, they should give it back because they've been absolute jokes as far as I'm concerned. Also, bipartisan congressional law, and I'm not talking about one side of the aisle, the other side, they're all terrible, and I don't care. I'm not green, blue, yellow, red, whatever. I'm color agnostic, I'm party agnostic, they're all terrible, okay? So a group of terrible congressional lawmakers pushed Trump to reschedule MJ. That's a bipartisan movement to reschedule MJ as he announces it's under review. And the GOP congressman filed a bill to reschedule MJ as he considers the decision on reform. So you got a wider push there from Congress as well. So Tilray expanded their hemp-derived HD9 beverage lineup with 10 milligram options and drinks from Fizzy Jane's and Happy Flower brands. And they also have multi-packs now as well. So love to see that. And they're already operating in as many states as a lot of these big operators and MSOs are already operating. Minus like Curaleaf, they're absolutely destroying it. And they got an international footprint as well. But Tilray and Curaleaf, very similar businesses. And if I had one wish in the MJ industry, well, it would be that the U.S. gets their together and gets this done and gets it across the finish line and legalizes it and does what they're supposed to do, is work for the people and support what their people want. But my second wish would be to have a Tilray and Curaleaf merger. And look out, that would be game over for the rest of the industry. And I know a lot of other people probably don't want that. And I'm biased. Tilray's my number one, Curaleaf's my number two holding. But yeah, I've done enough research to know that these two it's the Tilray and Curaleaf show, folks. Always has been, always will be. So Tilray Medical formed strategic partnership in Italy to broaden access to medical MJ extracts. So again, they were the first to enter Italy and Germany. They've got a foothold there. They've got UK, Australia, Poland. There's so many countries that they operate in. I think in 2025 they operated in 21. They sold products in 21 different countries. Again, there's companies in the U.S. that don't even operate in as many states as Tilray does countries. So again, this is a global powerhouse in the making. And also, they reconfirmed, this was a great update here as well, they reconfirmed their strategy to regain NASDAQ compliance, and they request an extension to meet these listing requirements. So essentially, they had until September 21st to regain compliance, get above $1 for 10 consecutive trading days. They've actually done it 3 days in a row now, so they only need 7 more days to regain compliance. They might even do it before, they might not even need the extension. But if they do get the extension, that would push it out from September 21st to March 20th, 2026. So there's a good chance that they dip it under $1, close it under $1, and restart the timer because they love to mess with retail. They don't make it easy, and people are going to freak out if it closes back under $1, and retail's just going to capitulate, sell their shares to institutions and Wall Street banks, like it usually is the case with many other situations, right? So this is great news, and we've actually got some other Canadian LPs that are not trying to get an extension, not even getting a warning, and they're looking to do a second reverse split. We'll discuss who that is in just a moment. Also, Aurora, who's done 2 reverse splits, ignites global expansion with Whistler MJ Co. brand, and that's going to debut in Australia as they continue to focus on the medical side of things. Also, Charlotte's Web, they reported their year-over-year growth for Q2 2025, so if you haven't seen that, you can check it out. Also, MediPharm strengthens global position in Q2 2025 with 14% revenue growth and 50% increase in international medical MJs. There's been a lot of drama with regards to the MediPharm board and team, but there was also an article here as well that they're positioned for unique opportunities on possible rescheduling of MJ in the United States. So it talks about how they hold a unique U.S. Food and Drug Administration FDA site registration in relation to the manufacturing and release of pharmaceutical MJ products. And they're the only U.S. FDA audited purpose-built commercial MJ facility in Canada, one of the handful globally. The possible rescheduling of MJ in the US opens up new opportunities for MediPharm in categories where the company maintains a competitive advantage. And we'll see what happens here. But Tilray also mentioned that they might even look at acquiring a company upon rescheduling to enter the US. So we know that they have MedMen, but that's more for the full-blown legalization recreational side of things. But this, when I saw this, I was like, light goes off. Light bulb. I'm like, could Tilray buy MediPharm? We'll see. There's been a lot of drama and just kind of brand tarnishing, I would say, with regards to MediPharm that's been going on with regards to the competency of their board. So it would make sense that they kind of just get rid of the current name and then rebrand under a different company, whether it be through a merger or something like that. We'll see what happens, but interesting to say the least. Also, Planet 13 announces their Q2 2025 financial results. They had Q2 revenue of $26.9 million. They did have a net loss of $13.3 million. So if you haven't seen that and if you're interested, check it out. Also, Cresco Labs, they extended their debt with $325 million at 12.5% due in 2030. So you have to be really cautious, folks, with these U.S. names. There's a lot of competition. There's still a lack of reform after almost a decade of Canada being legalized. The U.S. still can't figure their crap out. So that's hurting the legal industry, and it's pushing people back to the illicit market, especially when the cost per ounce is like $300 US. That's absolutely insane. I can't imagine paying half of that in Canada these days. And then you got like what is it, Glasshouse Brands that's like throwing the cost per pound's like $90 or something crazy, like 20 cents a gram. So it just doesn't make any sense. It's going to come down, price compression. You're going to see saturation. You're going to see a lot of competition, and then you're going to see the illicit market continuing to dip in. So all these companies getting out of states because they're not successful or they're not profitable or high margin. It's just, if you can't win at home, it's a big red flag. And a lot of these companies, and Cresco included, has a lot of debt. So you want to be very, very cautious. I cringe when I look at some of these companies, and I mentioned that about AYR. I've been screaming, bloody murder, red flag galore on AYR since really about a year now. And I said, if Florida doesn't pass Amendment 3 and legalization at the state level, it's going to be tough cookies and tough times for these companies. And sure enough, tough cookie came through, and AYR went to zero. And we've seen a little bit of share price recovery, but it's pretty insane to me that I said so many red flags. I gave like 5 major red flags that AYR had, and people are still asking me to this day, is there any value? And literally, it wasn't the CEO, because I don't know, they had multiple 1,700 different CEOs in the last year or something, but I can't remember who it was. It was the executive, one of the executives, board members, I can't remember, but it was in an interview, and basically he said there is no value. So when the leadership, the executive leadership is telling you that there's no value for the current entity, I have no idea why people are still asking that question. Again, you had multiple major red flags. Now the thing went to zero, and people are still questioning whether or not it's a valuable asset. So keep in mind, if a company buys AYR, they buy their debt, right? So that's why we're seeing this restructuring and basically a controlled handover to their lenders. So yeah, just be very cautious. If you're don't risk any more than you're willing to lose. And I wouldn't, whatever the amount that you risk normally that you're willing to lose, I would probably cut that by like 90%, and just be very, very careful with a lot of these U.S. names. We can't forget what we learned in Canada. A lot of this, and it might even be worse based on the lack of reform in the U.S. How long it's taking them to get their together. It's going to be an interesting time. So Cannara Biotech also enhanced their financial flexibility through a strategic asset sale. So the 2 mega facilities based in Quebec, they span over 1.6 million square feet. They announced the successful completion of the sale of a non-core building under construction and a related parcel of land located at its Valleyfield site for a total proceeds of $5.5 million. So that was the news there in a nutshell. Also, I was talking about a company doing a second reverse split to follow in the footsteps of Aurora. Well, that would be none other than, you guessed it, Canopy Growth. They announced their proxy materials and AGM annual general meeting, special meeting. My daughter's crying in the background. Hopefully it's not too distracting, but we'll get through it. Almost done here, just a couple more articles. So if we scroll down, I posted a video on this as well yesterday. At the meeting, shareholders, and this is going to be in September. If we just go here, and there was a link that apparently, and they recommend everybody vote in favor of it. So for it. But anyways, it was, I think it was like September 25th was the date of the meeting. But this is what they're going to vote on. Election of directors, reappointment of their auditor, and a share consolidation, also known as a reverse stock split proposal. So they're looking to do a 1 for 5 or a 1 for 15. So you remember Tilray had a proposal to do a 1 for 10 up to a 1 for 20. Well, essentially they're looking to do a 1 to 5, 1 to 15, and at the discretion of the board. And they didn't even get a warning. They were almost $2. And this new, it's the stupidity that comes from this is almost it hurts my brain. And then voting on executive approach to executive compensation. I bet you everybody and their dog is going to be like lower the compensation. But yeah, they're looking to do another reverse split. This thing's probably going to crater on Monday. There's been some people saying, oh, this wasn't new information. It came out a few days ago, it came out a few weeks ago, whatever it is. I didn't know about it. Nobody in Pow Group or nobody on my channel knew about it. And my videos got almost 2,000 views already in a day, not even 24 hours. So that tells me that 99% of people, specifically retail, did not know about it. So again, I would be looking at some major downside on CGC into Monday. There's going to be a lot of pissed off people come Monday morning. Also, Oxley, which is one of my top picks, reports second quarter 2025 results, and they absolutely crushed it, folks. I'm going to be interviewing Hugo Alves, the CEO of Oxley, in the next week or so, hopefully, and working with their team now to nail down a time. So I've already interviewed Hugo Alves in the past, and I'm going to be having him on again. I know the community has been asking, and I'm going to deliver this. I'll hopefully, like I said, make it happen over the next week or two. But they had net revenues of $38.8 million, increase of 33% year over year. Gross margin, 52% compared to 51% in Q2 of last year. That is absolutely fantastic. And their net income was positive $8.3 million, an increase of 315% year over year, folks. Get ready. This is a company that you don't want to sleep on. And weekly bull flag targeting 25 cents. Something to relish is my buys on Oxley. I was able to scoop this up for 1 penny Canadian. I remember buying it at 1 penny, and we just hit like almost 20 cents. I think it was like 18 cents the other day, maybe 18 and a half cents. And the weekly bull flag is targeting 25 cents. So you're looking at a 25x. That means if you invested $1,000, a couple $1,000 at the lows there at a penny, that would turn into about $25,000 or $50,000 for every $1,000 or $2,000 invested, respectively. So that's pretty awesome. And just imagine if it goes back to $1, $2, you're looking at 100x, 200x. The opportunity here is massive with Oxley. In other news here, not producer, but in retailer news, MJ retailer High Tide is entering the German market via acquisition. So it stalled before, but looks like it's going ahead here. So after a false state earlier this year, Canadian MJ retailer High Tide said Thursday it will finally enter the German medical MJ market. So in a 27.2 million euro deal, High Tide will acquire 51% of Remexian Pharma, an established pharmaceutical company created to import and wholesale medical MJ. All right, going in it there. Let me know what you think of this news. It's Rod with Pow Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth. We'll continue the conversation in the comments section below. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch you again on the next one.